Welcome to the Explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here today. In this Explainer, we're actually uncovering a hidden danger that is just lurking inside the walls of countless homes across San Diego County. It's this silent pipe killer that homeowners usually don't even realize is there until, well, the damage is already done and those repair bills are really piling up. It's a fascinating mix of unseen forces, geographical quirks, and some surprisingly simple fixes. Okay, let's dive into this.
So, picture your own home for a second. Have you ever been just lying in bed trying to sleep and heard your pipes banging or hammering right after someone turns off a faucet? Or, maybe you have a toilet that seems to have a total mind of its own. It's just constantly running or refilling. How about a shower head that just will not stop dripping no matter how hard you crank that handle? A lot of us just chalk these little annoyances up to the quirks of an old house, right? Just standard wear and tear. But the reality? These symptoms are actually your house practically screaming at you about a serious hidden danger that is completely stressing out your entire plumbing system.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. Over on the left, we've got the sweet spot. Normal household water pressure should sit super comfortably right between 50 and 70 psi, or pounds per square inch. That's plenty of pressure for a really fantastic, strong shower without tearing your system apart. But look at the right side. That is the danger zone. We're talking anything measuring 80 psi or higher. And what's absolutely crucial to understand here is that anything over 80 psi isn't just bad news for your pipes, it is a literal violation of California Plumbing Code Section 608.2. Crazy, right? Yet, there are plenty of homes in San Diego clocking in at 90, even 120 psi right at the tap, and the homeowners are just completely in the dark.
So, why is this happening? Why are so many local homes dealing with this invisible threat? Honestly, it all comes down to geography and physics. Your local water districts have a really tough job. They have to pressurize their water mains enough to push that water all the way up to the absolute highest home in a service zone. But if your house sits lower down on that exact same hill, you are getting slammed with way more pressure than the system actually needs to deliver to you. Gravity literally just grabs hold of that water and accelerates it on the way down. And San Diego County packs a massive amount of elevation change into very short distances, meaning homes sitting below water tanks or reservoirs get hit with all this excess pressure simply because they happen to be at the bottom of a slope.
Because of this super hilly terrain, there are actually very specific high-risk zones across the county. If you live in sloped, elevated areas like La Mesa, El Cajon, Santee, Poway, or Escondido, your home is particularly vulnerable here. In these neighborhoods, dealing with this gravity-fed high static pressure is just a routine part of homeownership. It's exactly why so many houses in these areas already had protective valves installed at the main line the day they were built. But listen, if your home doesn't have one of those, or if the one you do have is ancient and failing, that aggressive municipal water pressure is just climbing completely unchecked right inside your walls.
Okay, so what actually happens when all that unchecked pressure gets into your home? Well, high pressure is totally relentless. It acts almost like a constant stress test, just hunting for the weakest parts of your plumbing system and attacking them one by one. The symptoms are essentially a nightmare checklist. You'll get banging pipes when your appliances cycle. Your toilets will run constantly because the pressure just destroys the fill and flush valves. Faucets are going to drip even after you put in a brand new cartridge. You might see your water heater relief valve constantly weeping or dripping water, and overall you just suffer from short fixture life. Things that should easily last a decade will fail in a couple of years under that kind of intense strain.
We really need to frame this as an urgent financial issue, guys, because ignoring it, absolutely the most expensive choice you can make. Constant high pressure dramatically shortens the lifespan of literally everything it touches. For example, a water heater that's rated to last 12 years might permanently fail in just 7 if it's subjected to this constant beating. Plus, a dripping pressure relief valve on that water heater can actually void your manufacturer's warranty entirely. No way, right? You're also risking catastrophic hidden slab leaks or burst washing machine hoses that can flood a room in minutes. And hey, let's not forget the water bill itself. A house running at 110 psi pushes out way more water every single time a tap is opened, which means you are literally paying for wasted water you aren't even using.
All right, enough of the doom and gloom. The big important question is, how do you, the homeowner, actually know if your home is sitting in this 80+ psi danger zone? Because you can't just guess by staring at the water flowing from your kitchen sink. You need hard data to take control of the situation and protect your house.
And getting that data, it costs an absolute fraction of what you're probably expecting. $12. Seriously, that's it. For around $12 at pretty much any local hardware store, you can grab a standard, screw-on water pressure gauge. You totally don't need to call a plumber out and pay a service fee just to diagnose this initial problem.
This is honestly one of the cheapest, most accessible home maintenance checks you can possibly do yourself.
Let's move to and see how this builds. It's a super actionable DIY test that takes maybe 5 minutes tops. Step 1. Pick an outdoor hose bib, ideally the one closest to where the main water line enters your house. Or your washing machine valve works great for this too. Step 2, and this is critical, make sure absolutely no water is running anywhere in the house, inside or out. No dishwashers, no sprinklers, nothing. Step 3, thread your new gauge directly onto the threads and open the valve all the way. Step 4, just read the needle on the dial. Whatever number is staring back at you, that is your home's static water pressure.
But hey, here is a vital pro tip to make sure your data is dead-on accurate. Test your pressure in the early morning or the late evening. Why? Because municipal street pressure actually peaks when neighborhood demand drops. Think about it. When everyone else on your block is fast asleep and not running their showers or their sprinklers, the pressure in the municipal main rises. By testing during these off-peak hours, you're going to catch the highest, most accurate reading of the static pressure that's slamming against your home's pipes.
So the crucial point is, what happens if that needle actually swings way past 80 psi? Well, the professional, permanent fix is a piece of equipment called a pressure-reducing valve, or a PRV. It's this heavy-duty brass valve that gets installed directly on the main water line, right where the water enters your house, usually near the meter or out in the front yard somewhere. You can basically think of a PRV as a physical shield for your home. It intercepts that aggressive high incoming street pressure and reliably steps it down to a steady, safe, manageable level, usually right around that perfect 60 psi mark.
Naturally, you're probably wondering about the cost of this fix. Having a PRV installed on a typical San Diego home usually runs between $300 and $650. Now, just to be totally transparent, the brass valve itself is actually a pretty small part of that cost. The vast majority of this price covers the highly skilled labor required to do it right. A licensed pro has to completely shut off the city main, physically cut into your existing plumbing, fit and permanently seal the new valve, and then properly test and calibrate it. So the price can definitely fluctuate depending on the size of the valve and just how easily accessible your main line is.
Let's just quickly summarize these investment details so we have them straight. You've got your installed cost of $300 to $650, and we are aiming for that ideal setting of roughly 60 psi. But definitely note the lifespan here. A PRV lasts about 10 to 15 years. They do not last forever, sadly. And when an old PRV finally wears out, it can actually fail in one of two directions. It can fail open, which lets the pressure instantly skyrocket back up to dangerous city levels, or it can fail closed, which basically chokes your home's water flow down to this incredibly frustrating little trickle. So, if your gauge ever shows crazy numbers again, a worn-out PRV is your prime suspect.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the domino effect that installing a PRV triggers. When you put a PRV on your main line, you officially turn your home into what plumbers call a closed system. Water can come in, sure, but it can't push backward out to the street anymore. So when your water heater heats up cold water, that water physically expands. Because it's now a closed system, that expanding hot water literally has nowhere to go, causing the pressure inside your tank to spike dramatically during every single heating cycle. This is exactly why California plumbing code strictly requires a small, steel thermal expansion tank to be installed right on your water heater alongside any new PRV. It just gives that expanding hot water a safe little cushion so it doesn't force your relief valve to start dripping all over the floor.
And we also definitely need to clarify a related issue known as water hammer. You know that really loud bang you hear in the walls sometimes? That is actually a physical shockwave. It's created when fast-moving water suddenly slams to a dead stop because an appliance valve shut off instantly. Now, lowering the overall pressure of your home down to 60 psi with a PRV will calm down most of this hammering for sure. However, for appliances that pull water very aggressively, like modern washing machines or your dishwasher, lowering the pressure might not be quite enough on its own. A pro might still need to install these small localized water hammer arresters right behind those specific appliances to absorb those final bits of shock.
So here is your practical, real-world next step. You go to the hardware store, you buy that $12 gauge, and you do the simple 5-minute test we talked about. If you look at that dial and it is pointing to 80, 90, or even 100 psi, or hey, if you already have pipes banging and water heater valves weeping constantly, it is time to bring in the cavalry. You can call the licensed 24/7 local network at Plumbing Pro San Diego at 858-925-5546. They can officially confirm your static reading, expertly install that new pressure-reducing valve, add the legally required thermal expansion tank, and just completely protect your entire home's plumbing infrastructure in a single visit.
Which brings us to the final and really the most important question of this entire explainer. What is your home's PSI right this second? You honestly don't know until you measure it. The danger is completely silent, right up until the moment something breaks and floods your house. So go spend the $12, take the 5 minutes, and find out exactly what your pressure is before your pipes, your water heater, and your wallet have to pay the ultimate price. Thanks so much for joining me on The Explainer. Catch you next time.